Rhiannon Samuel here with Viante, New Mexico. I want to give you a rundown on what happened during the 2021 session and just the wins and losses for the legislative body and for New Mexicans. I want to warn you from the get-go, this may be a little bit long of a video, but because so much happened that I want to share with you. Just a little outline of what I'm hoping to address, so if you want to skip ahead, feel free to. I want to talk about the Zoom dynamic of the session, uncharted waters. How did that go, and how was the public able to engage or not engage? Second, I want to talk about the temperament of the legislative body. It was extremely dramatic, not just between the parties, but between the chambers and within the parties themselves. How did that play out? And then I want to finish on the issues, starting with Viante's focus issue, which was the broadband initiatives. And I have great news to share there. But also I'm going to talk about cannabis and abortion and qualified immunity. So that way you can have a more comprehensive understanding of everything that was going on during the session. So let's kick it off with that Zoom dynamic. How did it go? Well, as a recap, it was a hybrid model for the legislators where they could either be in person for floor sessions or online via Zoom, or if it was a committee, they all had to be on Zoom. For the public aspect of it all, I'm going to just be upfront with you, it was a challenge. As somebody who goes to these committee meetings to report on what they do and to testify on bills, navigating it was no easy feat. The House had a general Zoom link for each committee that you could just plug into, and it would allow you to give public comment. The Senate, you had to contact them 24 hours in advance, and then they'll send you the link about 30 minutes before the committee meeting. So that was kind of tough to keep on top of. Additionally, because everything was online, the committee chairs had a better opportunity to restrict the amount of time public comment was made. So in certain circumstances, I'll give you a personal example. I was in committee, I had done everything right. I got my Zoom link, waiting to do a comment. And the committee chair said, we're only going to give 10 minutes for and 10 minutes against. And so as people were talking through their public comments, they just ran out of time, and I wasn't able to say why Viante was in support of something. Additionally, committee chairs had the ability to restrict the amount of time that committee comment was given. So I saw anywhere from a minute to 3 minutes. I found it not to be too much of a hindrance, but speaking to colleagues in like AARP, they said they would have appreciated more time. So it was a bit of a challenge. Towards the end of it, everybody got a little used to it, although it was tough to get used to. Now, let's talk about the tempers and the dynamic. Of course, there's always a flair for dramatics during the session, and there's some infighting, but this year it was growing a lot more earlier on than I've ever seen before. We had on the Senate floor a senator be called out by his leadership, which resulted in him sitting down and crying in his chair and calling him a name in that instance. Another case where there was infighting between the chambers. The Senate chamber said representatives cannot be on the floor unless they are testifying on a bill that's actively being discussed. And it's not even testifying because they're not allowed to speak. They'd be feeding answers to a senator to say into a mic. And so the House responded exactly the same and said, fine, you're going to do that. Senators are no longer allowed on our floor unless their bill is being discussed. Tit for tat there. And then in the final hours of the legislative session, there was an accusation of bullying between two senators, the Democrat Party, and just with the nature of the questioning, the senator who was defending her bill felt like she was being badgered. And so it was nasty. I mean, that's all I can tell you is It was not pleasant to watch. There's a lot of both representatives and senators said that they exhibited great decorum, but watching from the sidelines, I could tell you I didn't see it, unfortunately. And I feel it's tough for me to make that kind of comment because I generally stay away from those things. But quite frankly, it was tough. So very dramatic. I hope they'll pull it together because we deserve better, quite frankly. Let's talk about issues though. Let's get beyond that. Let's talk about what is done for New Mexicans. First and foremost, broadband. Something that Viante has been working on for the past 10 months, knowing that the pandemic brought to light a lot of inequities. But what had happened to this point was a lot of lip service. In fact, over the past 10 years, $300 million has been spent by the state for broadband in New Mexico, but we continuously rank either 42nd or 46th, depending on what list you look at, for broadband connectivity in the country. So we advocated for two big bills, Senate Bill 93 and House Bill 10. They are complementary, and what it would do is create an Office of Broadband that would be advised by key stakeholders who are already doing the work and people who have a vested interest in the land, whether they be Native American groups or higher education institutions. So that way we can be more intentional about the money that we're receiving from the federal government and putting it into all of New Mexico, not just prioritizing the urban areas, but also the rural who need it, because again, it's an equity issue. So in the 11th hour, within the last, 72 hours to 48 hours, no, even last night. So full disclosure, I'm recording this on Saturday, the 20th, that afternoon. So the session just ended an hour ago. So anyway, it passed very, very late in the game. I am so pleased. Now we have our push to get it signed by the governor. By all accounts, it looks like this is going to happen. She has 20 days to do so. So you'll be getting emails from me to ask her to send emails. Next issue that was a big topic during this session was redistricting. We have a big redistricting year because we have the census in 2020. So the legislature is going to have to meet in special session after September. That's when we were told we're going to get our census numbers to redraw districts. This bill is important because it would create an independent commission to advise this that wouldn't look at previous voting records or party affiliation, but rather the full encompassment of the area and draw districts there. This is a step in the right direction towards transparency and fairness, and a huge bill for New Mexico. Next one, qualified immunity, hot topic across the country. This is a bill that ended up making it all the way through, and it's making it going to the governor's desk. Another one that's made its way through already to the governor's desk is the abortion bill that would repeal a law on New Mexico's books that was in conflict with federal law. So that repealed it. What it means for you as a New Mexican, you're not going to see any differences. It was more of like a policy and a morality vote that was coming to the legislative body. Another final one, big one that passed is sick leave. This is an initiative that has been pushed at the city and county level all across New Mexico, and now the people who are in support of it have gotten it at the state level, but it's also one of the most robust sick leave bills that we've seen across the country, where it doesn't have exemptions for small businesses, and it really didn't take into account a lot of the business community's concerns. So there's still a question on whether or not the governor is going to sign it. It seems as though she's going to, but it was quite controversial, as you can expect. Big one that did not pass, medical cannabis, recreational cannabis for adult users. The governor has staked her name on this bill passing over the past few years, and it looked like it was going to happen this year. There was a House bill that crossed over into the next chamber, made its way through to the committee assignments, but ultimately died because it didn't get a hearing on the Senate floor. Questions have been raised. Why was that? What it seems like, because it happened so late in the game, is that the Republican Party knew that it was coming up. They didn't like it. They were going to talk about it a lot, leaving other bills that they wanted to pass to die. And so there possibly was some backroom dealing saying, look, we're not going to allow this to pass because we want these other things. And if you do put it before this body, we're going to filibuster it and just talk it to death. So it ultimately died, but the governor's office has already said that they're interested in calling another special session. So I had talked about that one for the redistricting. Now this other special session, which would probably happen sooner, strictly on recreational cannabis. So the expectation or the talk around it is it's going to happen within the next 2 weeks. We will see. Around that element, let's talk about the fences that were around the roundhouse. It was initially put up to keep all those participating in the session safe when President Biden was going through his inauguration, and there was concerns after the Capitol riots, but they remained up the entire time. So something I'm going to be looking at is if we do have a special session within the next, or whenever this year, quite frankly, will they allow the public? Will the taxpayers still be left paying thousands of dollars to keep this stuff, all these fences up? Not taking a judgment evaluation on it, it's just I'm curious, and I'll share that with you. So all in all, for Viante's sake and our big broadband push, it was a win. The 2020 session was a win. We accomplished so much, and we're so grateful to all of our partners, including CNM, AARP New Mexico, Home Builders Association of Central New Mexico, just to name a few. Incredible partnerships and work that went into it. A lot of media attention that Viante was able to garner for this issue. And I am so excited that it passed. Now, if we look to declare winners and losers elsewhere, it's a mixed bag. The governor was kind of in a 50-50 bag. She got her sick leave, the abortion bill, but the big one, cannabis, she did not. The legislators, the Democrats, I'd say ultimately it was a win. They got a lot through, and they worked through the dynamics of the processes to get what they wanted. Now, for Republicans, they're feeling a little defeated right now. Although they're very grateful for the transparency bill around redistricting passed, because the numbers in both chambers weigh so heavily in favor of the Democrats. Republicans, all they could do was weigh out that clock and play it out and, use time to their advantage. But beyond that, it was tough for them to get anything that they wanted through. So they're going to probably have some sort of reconciliation within the party to figure out how are they going to approach the upcoming special sessions that are expected and where to go from here. So thank you for bearing with me on this very long video, but as mentioned, lots happened. And I'm so grateful for everybody who's been following Viante on this journey. We're only able to do this work because of our supporters. And if you're happy that we were able to find common ground on something like broadband, which touches every New Mexican, please consider giving us a donation. That's what keeps our work going. We are a nonprofit. And so we'd like to continue doing this work, but we can only do it with you. So I'll leave the donation information in all of the places I post this, but please, if you have the means, consider doing that. And I'll keep you in the loop as things progress. And we're now, as an organization, going to look to 2022. What are we going to try and accomplish? And if you have ideas on that, please share them. That's what we're all about, is hearing from everyday New Mexicans and finding a common ground way to achieve it. So thank you, and I'll catch you next time.